Yeah.
And you've got the new people who are bringing all this energy and like opening new restaurants or new tasting rooms. And so it's fun to have that diversity of experience in ownership because they all bring something different to the table. And we need that. I mean, we need the Gary Eberleys and the Beckett's to be there and say, like, this is what it was like 40 years ago. And here's why we did that. But you need the new guys who are opening tasting rooms and making fun new wines to meld together because that's what makes anything exciting.
So, welcome to the Paso Robles Podcast. I hope I don't change my demeanor too much because I hate doing that. Like, I get into this like mode, like, oh, this, because we were having such a great conversation before, and I'm like, should I not cut that out? Because I was recording for like a few seconds. But today I have in the house Carol and Joel from Paso Robles Wine Alliance. I'll start with you, Carol. You can introduce yourself, and then Joel, and then you guys can tell the audience, listeners, viewers on what this Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance is all about.
Sure. My name is Carol Yeaman-Sanchez. I'm the development director at the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance. And Joel?
I'm Joel Peterson. I'm the executive director of the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance. We are a 501c6. We're a nonprofit trade and marketing organization here in Paso Robles. We've been around for just over 30 years. And we are, we do all marketing, all things Paso wine in terms of marketing, events, social media, membership development, sponsorships, all kinds of things. We have kind of four key pillars we operate under. The first one is advocacy and community, which is kind of like we're the community makers of this region, kind of organizing people, creating spaces for people to get together. The second one is marketing and communications. A huge part of what we do is just getting the word out about Paso wine, and how beautiful it is, how special it is, what makes it unique, the personalities of the wines. The third thing is member support, which is Carol's key role, is really supporting members, making sure they have the tools to succeed, and making sure that they're supported in terms of education. And then the last thing is really trade relations, and really that's speaking to the wine trade, SOMs, wine buyers, media, not media so much, but wine trade. And all that we do is before those four pillars, and it's a lot. But we've got a great little team. Our office is right in downtown Paso Robles on the corner of 13th and Spring. We've got a little kind of 6-person team, and it's great. Yeah, it's fun to be a part of.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
I know it's been a while since I've been asking you guys to hey, come join me. But you guys are always busy, which is good. You guys are always being busy, always looking at what's going on with today's industry as far as wine, Paso. I remember when you took over, and you were doing a presentation, mid-year presentation, or where we're at with the wine at Park Cinemas. Yeah. And that was kind of cool to see how you've grown and how much more gray hair you have. But
no,
because even me, like all this is like super full now, and I'm like, yeah. But that's the life we live in, man. Yeah. I guess one of the things I want to ask is like, what's today's how's today's industry looking like? Because I know, Carol, you mentioned you have some numbers you want to share. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
Well, we just published an economic impact report, which we were really glad to do. It was part of a larger CDFA specialty crop grant that we got, so that helped fund the report. And the last one was done in 2015. So 16, we were overdue to have this report done. And what it shows is that we have a 2.8 billion economic impact. 1 out of every 5 jobs here locally is tied to wine and tourism. So really, obviously, like a main driver of the economy here.
Yeah, it's a really cool study to see out there. It's about 13,000 jobs overall. I think over 9,000 in the county, just directly related to wine, vineyard, and tourism. About 37% of the tax dollars that comes into the city of Paso Robles is generated by tourism, wine tourism. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of validated the work that we think that we're doing out there. Yeah. Not that we, but the industry we support. So that was important to have as a benchmark. The other thing we did is we actually took this really cool grant she was talking about, CDFA, which stands for California Department of Food and Ag, which is funded through the USDA, the Farm Bill, and really kind of got some baseline numbers of how we're doing, how much wine are we selling direct to consumer, That's like a wine club, tasting room events. How much wine are we selling out in the wholesale market when you're out in grocery stores, or supermarket, or fine dining? And then also, what are people buying? It's called this group called Wine Opinions, and we asked over 1,200 people, do you buy wine? Do you not buy wine? Why do you buy wine? Do you buy wine from Paso, Napa, Sonoma, Monterey County, and kind of figured out where we stand as a kind of just, again, benchmarking where we are. Allows us to come together, build a plan, and really kind of look at our next 3 years of marketing, because it's a different landscape. I took over here in 2019, quickly followed by the pandemic, which was in some ways a blessing for the wine industry, because there was what we call a wine glut. There was almost like too much wine on the market. Yeah. And for the first 18 months of COVID, everyone drank a lot.
Yeah.
So that helped get through that inventory.
For sure. It did. It was really huge kind of influx of, or not influx, but consumption influx. And then it slowed down in 23, slowed again, we're kind of flattened out in 23, slowed down in 24, and 25 is still kind of like that slow down. So people are having to get creative and figure out kind of what the business model is, how much wine they're making, how much wine they're selling direct to consumer, how much wine they're selling in the wholesale market, and then what kind of wines they're making. If that's the one thing we really are seeing out there, is that the younger consumers aren't so much drinking wine all the time. They're not brand loyal. They're not beverage loyal. So they might have like a gin tonic one night, and then a beer the next night, and then a wine. So we have to be really creative in terms of what we're trying to sell. Whereas I think the older generations, or the ones, even I'm Gen X, like you join a wine club or you join 3 wine clubs, and that's kind of what you do. So we're just having to get creative and really kind of showcase different things about the wine industry, which is really fun, which is like, come here for the weekend and spend 3 or 4 days and go ziplining and, go hiking, and also go for a wine tasting, and then come back and do a food pairing. So it's like, what are the different elements you can pair around the wine experience? Not just, I'm going to go sit at a wine bar for 3 hours. Yeah. Go to a new winery, do that for 3 hours.
Which is still okay if you do that.
Yeah, of course.
I think when I moved back from Lemoore in 2016, I felt like I was doing that more than anything else, because I had to reintroduce myself to the area, and wine just exploded from when I moved away from 2012 to 2016. And I was just like, all right. And I went to Hotel Cheval, hung out there, Cali Paso, Ascension Ridge when we were downtown. And I'm just like, I think this might be my life now, Yeah. This episode is sponsored by Lion Pro Flooring. Give new life to your floors with beautiful, professionally installed flooring. Whether it's hardwood, luxury vinyl, or carpet, your home deserves quality you can feel and craftsmanship you can trust. Serving Paso Robles in all of SLO County, Lion Pro Flooring is your local expert in transforming spaces. Call or text 805-712-3710 for a free estimate today. That's 805-712-3710, Lion Pro Flooring, when quality matters. This episode is sponsored by Santos Bros Plumbing. Are you in need of a dependable and effective plumber you can trust? Look no further than Santos Bros Plumbing, your trusted local plumbers in Paso Robles, California. Call them now at 805-360-4679. That's Santos Bros Plumbing. This episode is brought to you by Rad Scooter Deli on 6th Street. Craving something delicious in Paso Robles? Rad Scooter Deli on 6th Street has you covered. Enjoy tasty sandwiches, fresh salads, and smoothies like the Banana Nut Blast, my personal favorite. Kick back on the covered patio, sip on a cold beer and wine, and enjoy the easy parking. Order online for pickup or dine-in. And here's a treat. Use promo code PODCAST for $5 off your next order. That's PODCAST for $5 off your next order. Open daily from 6:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Rad Scooter Deli. Local flavor, fast and fresh.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I think there is a part of that we need to get back to, because part of what COVID was like, it's so busy. We need to go to appointment only, and we need to go to sit down tasting only. And at a certain point, which is great, like you kind of got to go in depth, and you kind of got to spend more time with people and consumers, which led to more dollars. But at the end of the day, like sometimes people want to come in and drink. They want to come in and like spend 40 minutes. Let me buzz me through 3 or 4 wines. What did I like? What I don't like, and then move on. So we also need to get back to that a little bit of like, let's loosen up a little bit about what the wine experience is.
Yeah, and I think the tasting rooms, are figuring that out. Part of our member education is we do a tasting room manager's luncheon, and last October we did this roundtable discussion, and that was one of the things that we really talked about. Who is doing appointments still, or lots of people are switching it up and offering we might have been appointments now, or maybe some days, we're a little bit more flexible. So I think right now is really a time for people to be experimenting. You don't have to do things the way you've always done them. Trial and error. And if it doesn't work, switch it up.
Yeah. And also that goes along not only with the experience, but like what people are doing, what kind of wines they're making.
Yeah.
So you have some wineries here in town that are making and have made beautiful, red wines, big, complex, bold. And then maybe they're making like a pet nat, which is like, the kind of a natural, sparkling wine that kind of ferments right in the bottle. Or they're making a carbonated, Sangiovese, or they're making this lighter wine. So it's fun to see brands that are successful and have some tradition, but also getting a little bit out of the box to attract that younger drinker and maybe the other person in that couple or in that group of friends. So there's something for everyone.
Yeah. And I mean, that's really what makes Paso so special is, we grow so many different varietals, but beyond that, there's so many different wines that can be made from those. I mean, we have a whole event dedicated just to blends, Blend Fest on the coast in February, where there's only blends being poured. But I mean, there's, probably a little bit of a swing to that lower alcohol, lighter wine style, which, Paso maybe traditionally and, historically had been known for bigger, bolder wines. And I think we'll continue to make those. But there's also lots of producers who are experimenting with really light, nice, crisp white wines.
Yeah.
I think white wine is definitely having a moment right now.
For sure.
Yeah. So, one of the things that there's like questions popping in my head. So first, the article you posted, how often do you guys do that type of work? Like post that kind of article? Because you said next 3 years you're going to be able to plan out. Is it every 3 years you try to do something
in terms of that,
to get the general
the studies?
Yeah, the studies.
We would have there was last one was published in 2016. We would have done one in 2019, 2020, but COVID happened.
Yeah,
and it just put kind of the brakes on. It just made a shift of what we did as an organization. We kind of quickly became, instead of a marketing organization, more of a advocacy organization for a few years, and really we became almost reactionary because we had to, and the world had to become reactionary. But now I think that we're out of that and we're forward thinking. So I wouldn't be surprised if another 3 year we're in the middle of our 3 year strategic planning right now, and so I wouldn't be surprised if in 3 or 4 years we do another study just like this. So it's kind of resetting the table of what's out there for Paso as you look at regions and look at what's next for us in terms of tourism.
Okay. Yeah. And then the next thing that popped in my head when you were talking about like the younger drinkers, I heard this before you guys published it. So did the publishing actually just confirm that that's what's happening? Or how did you guys know that, people are getting younger, or are you trying to attract the younger drinkers? Because I know a lot of older people who are like kind of cutting back as well. Not just the youngers who are being more self-conscious. Yeah.
Well, obviously as maybe the baby boomers age out of wine clubs. Wineries are losing those, that loyal fan base. And so they have to get creative to capture a younger audience. And we're seeing that with, people experimenting with different types of clubs, but also like subscription models, just like different things. And beyond, those avenues of, creating a club or a way for you to continually sell to an audience, new experiences and things and new wines like you're talking about to get people excited to come, to visit, to try new things.
I think to answer your question, I think it did confirm what we thought. I mean, it's as she said, the older generations are aging out. They've got a bunch of cellars, a bunch of wine in their cellar. Maybe they haven't drunk through it, so they're trying to drink through it, or their doctor's saying, hey, maybe cut back a little bit. Gen X, which is the next one below that, is just the same thing. They're kind of being more health conscious and drinking a little bit less, and then you have millennials and Z. So I think in general, just that we see there's just less consumption, and that's okay. But there's there's a couple things when there's less consumption. The first thing is you've got supply, and so what's happening is they're pulling out thousands of acres of vineyards in California. Now, at this point, it's been all over, mainly in like Fresno, Lodi area, in the San Joaquin Valley. But it's going to be happening here more because there's just too many grapes in the ground to support the consumption of America. So we can still continue to work on that and make sure we're making products that we can use those in. But that's the key thing is there's going to be some pain involved, which is pulling out vineyards. And so those folks have either got to transition to other crops or the land has to do something else. The second thing is if you have a winery that's set up to build and make a certain amount of wine, they need to calibrate that. And so maybe instead of doing 10,000 cases, maybe they're doing 8,000 cases or, whatever that is. But it doesn't mean here's the other thing that we need to talk about. There's wineries who are doing great right now. Mm-hmm. So, what's one thing that came out in the studies that we saw recently is like between a third and a half of the wineries are having great years because they're marketing, they're changing, they're making great wine. So there are success stories in this economy. It's just a matter of like where we're highlighting. The problem is as Americans, we love to like, it's like doom, doom scrolling. So it's like, oh my God, no one's drinking wine. It's the worst thing in the world. And you come by and you come across a tasting room that's completely full and fun, and they've got a wait list. And so there is success stories out there. We need to also highlight those.
And overall, Paso as a region is a really successful wine region right now. Yeah. When we talk to other regions who aren't really in the same boat, it's interesting to hear.
There's just in terms of one of the key takeaways was for the wholesale study was, I think it was 4 of the top 6 wines to sell in America in the wholesale market under $25 are made in Paso Robles. So that's a huge success story.
Yeah.
This episode is sponsored by Valeria Hinoves with Remax, your local real estate expert here in the Paso Robles and Central Coast. Whether it's your first home or your forever home, Valeria makes the process smooth, personal, and stress-free. She's bilingual, experienced, and ready to help. ¿Hablas español? Ella también. Call Valeria today at 805-212-6387 and let's get you a home. This episode is sponsored by Pueblo Furniture in Paso Robles. Skip the credit card headache. Talk to Roger and get 0% in-house financing on quality furniture you'll love. Visit them at 1030 Railroad and 10th Street or call 805-239-5942. That's Pueblo Furniture. Comfort you want, payments you can handle. Y sí, se habla español. Just ask for Roger. This episode is sponsored by Western Janitor Supply. They have cleaning supplies and equipment for any workplace. Call today at 805-238-2112. They provide an extensive line of chemicals, paper products, and floor equipment. Again, that's Western Janitor Supply located in downtown Paso Robles. And I think the last 4 years for sure, Paso's been popping up on like TripAdvisor. I think Wine Enthusiasts, all these like big publishing platforms. And to me, it's like, okay, it's not slowing down for Paso. It might feel like it for a lot of people who like see the foot traffic, but if you're looking at the bigger picture, it's going to keep going. Yeah,
and everyone's on a different journey. There's some brands that have been here for a long time, and maybe that ownership is either aging out or trying to figure out what the next step is.
Yeah.
Maybe the kids that want to take over the business. Maybe you got people who started only maybe 5 or 10 years ago, and they're trying to figure out, okay, we're 10 years into this. What does that look like?
Yeah.
And you've got the new people who are bringing all this energy and like opening new restaurants or new tasting rooms, and so it's fun to have that diversity of experience in ownership because they all bring something different to the table, and we need that. I mean, we need the Gary Eberleys and the Beckett's to be there and say, like, this is what it was like 40 years ago, and here's why we did that. But you need the new guys who are opening tasting rooms and making fun new wines to meld together, because that's what makes anything exciting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I first moved back in 2016 to manage the Park Cinemas, I noticed a lot of people who when I left, there were regular staff members at a restaurant, at a hotel, at a winery, and now they're the general managers or the ones taking over. So like I feel like right now, or at least in the last 4 years and on, it's going to be like, this is where that shift happens, right? You know what, like you said, we need those Gary Everleys. Like, you do realize Gary Everly is being developed right now. Just stop and smell the wine.
Yeah. Stop and smell the rosé.
Yeah.
There's so many cool things that are happening in Paso right now. I mean, the fact that we have multiple Michelin star restaurants or Michelin Guide listed restaurants in North County, the wine industry has driven this level of excellence, and we're seeing it in the restaurants, we're seeing it in hotels. We have amazing hotels here, and then more that are coming online. Within the next several years, we're going to have more hotels in Paso Robles than in the city of San Luis Obispo, which is crazy, but it's also awesome. We've got, Sensorio, which is amazing as they continue to build those the awesome installations there, and that people come from all over to come see Sensorio.
I had him on the show.
Cool.
Jake, I'm terrible with names right now.
Oh, Bruce Monroe, the artist,
No,
or
the general
owners?
manager.
Oh,
Oh my god, I'm blanking.
Kurt.
I want to say Jacob. No, I'm way off. Oh my god, I'm blanking. I'm gonna cut this out. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna cut it out. I'll just type it at the bottom or something. But I had him on the show. It's gonna come in like later. Watch.
Yeah.
I had him on the show. And he gave me like a tour, and then he showed me all this empty space that's gonna be developed into like a hotel. I want to say a spa, even a restaurant. And I'm just like, we're gonna be best friends. But unfortunately, I'm forgetting your name. I'm blanking out so much. Oh my god. Let's change the subject. So hotels. As far as tourism, I'm local. You guys are local. I don't know how long you've been here for a while.
I moved back. I mean, I spent a lot of my summers here, but I moved here full time in the harvest of 2003.
Okay. Yeah, so you're local. You're local.
This episode is brought to you by the White Wave Wellness. Choose to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Wellness is more than being free from illness. It is a process of change and growth towards a mentally and physically healthy lifestyle. Reach out to Jennifer Hale to learn more about how this water can change your life.
But with the talk of tourism and hotels, it kind of from when I hear, it's like, oh, like they're forgetting about the locals. Tell me a little bit about that. What is your guys' approach to that conversation?
It's a good question. I think that there's always more and more hotels, and so whenever there's change, it raises questions and concerns. But I think the interesting thing, I heard a really good quote, by the way, the other day, is people aren't afraid of change. They're afraid of quick change. Because people like change, but they like to be gradual. So I think we're seeing that. And we work with a great organization who's kind of our sister organization called Travel Paso. Yeah. And that's run by Stacey Jacob and her team. And they essentially are the marketing arm for Paso Robles. They market the destination as a whole, not just wine, but about, road trips and sensorio and tourism and distilleries and culinary. And so they market all that. We market the wine specifically, or the wine region, but they are tasked with essentially getting people here to stay in those hotels. And I think so it's scary in some ways, but I think it's good because it means there's more people coming here. There's going to be more midweek stays. I think you're going to have more of diverse options of entry level, mid-level, and then high-end hotels, which I think is nice. Sometimes we kind of either super nice like Allegretto, or you've got some of the roadside hotels like more of that middle ground. So I think it's great. It's an opportunity. I mean, and there's always going to be someone who's like, hey, there's too many hotels, or there's it's only for tourists, but there's great things. I mean, you can you were right across from Hotel Cheval for years, and you can go across to the Pony Club, and it was great. It was all locals there. We'd go drink wine, have live music, and so there's things at those hotels for locals.
Yeah. Well, and like the experiences, and the restaurants and, the infrastructure just gets better and better. I mean, the more people that come here, the more people are paying tax dollars, and that goes into making our community better. And the number was what, almost $1,200 more that households would have to pay annually in taxes if it weren't for the wine industry and the driving that tourism. Those are people from outside of this area who are paying into our community. And, so it's pluses and minuses. And yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things is I don't know if I say it publicly enough, or if maybe I haven't, but I lean into it. Yeah. Like it's a good thing, and parking is another thing. But I was like, even when parking started, I was leaning into it because it promoted fresh foot traffic and constant cycle. Yeah. Obviously, that wasn't the greatest approach or whatever, but for me, it's like I lean into it because one, it creates more jobs for people around here. Absolutely, it just boosts the economy altogether, and at the same time, it's like it's being a local and be able to flex that. Hey, we have this, we have that. Go try it out at least once so you can talk about it.
We live here, so we get to be the first to do any of that stuff.
Exactly.
Grace and Rose opened last week. We got to go to the Grace and Rose the first week they were open and see how it's going to evolve, and that'll change. Or when In Bloom opened a couple of years ago, we got to go see that. And when these small little wineries are just starting, like we know them, so that's great. That's an advantage to being a local. Is like you're at the ground level, and then you can kind of see it evolve, and you can go to the ones you like, and then don't go to the ones you don't like. But I mean. It isn't. I mean, the cool thing about living in some place where other people vacation is like you get to do the vacation things. Sometimes they can be expensive, but you pick and choose, right?
Yeah, like when I spoke to Ryan from Sensorium.
Yes, Ryan Hopple. There we go.
So when I spoke to him, we were talking about like a little bit about like potential local stuff that might happen, and I can't remember if I said it in the podcast or after, but I'll say it now. But I was saying like people are paying so much money to go to Disneyland when I can just do a few trips here and enjoy myself just as much. I know Disneyland is an experience you should have, but I mean,
well, that's a great point. One of the angles that we're pitching with our PR firm right now is called, Europe and Paso. And so there's so many people they want to go like to Tuscany, which is great, Tuscany or south of France, and those are great. But those are $10,000-$20,000 trips, right? You know what? You can do it in Paso for half that.
Yeah.
So
have you been to the Allegretto?
Right. So like
it's like Italy here.
There is Tuscan inspired stuff here, food, wine. It looks amazing. Looks or second to none. And south of France or other places around the world. So that's a great point you bring up, because we do have that here. We are a 3-hour drive from LA, San Francisco, Fresno, and there's just and there's no traffic here.
Yeah, no traffic, and that's one of the big things. When I moved back, it almost felt like it was about to be traffic. You kind of see that. I kind of felt that 5 o'clock like gridlock or whatever. Like there was a little bit of honking, but then as like, I don't know, Paso just did this weird things like, no, we're not having that, and now there's gridlock, and you see people like. If they could high five each other while they're stuck next to each other, they're
always waving. Yeah. If someone doesn't wave at you, you're
it's
like,
weird.
Are you?
Who is this guy? He's not from here.
There is no. I mean, it's funny because I lived in big cities. You live in big cities. This is not traffic. Yeah.
No.
Is there a 45-minute challenging time when it's a little bit tough to get around? Maybe, but I mean, it's like
playing around it. You're good.
Exactly.
Nothing like the planning that you have to do in other locations.
Like LA, where I can't leave my house between 2 and 7 p.m.
I the few times I have stayed in big cities and stuff like that, and let's say there's an event at 2 o'clock at some restaurant or a cinema that we were having a workshop or something, I would literally just dedicate that whole morning traveling there because I did not want to get stuck in traffic. Yeah. So if I got there early, I guess I ate somewhere right before. Right. Yeah. And that was like my plan. But for some reason, Paso has this weird, like, I mentioned this a couple of times in the shows, like not cultish, but like they bring you in, transform you, like, all right, go tell somebody else, And that's the cool thing about Paso is like they make you one of their own.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. We get pitched a lot. Everyone's like, oh my God, I came to Paso like a few months ago, and I can't believe you guys aren't bigger. Man, like we got to do some marketing. And I'm like, how aren't you guys bigger? I'm like, we've been doing this for 30 years. Like things don't happen overnight. Like we spend money. Travel Paso spends money. Big wineries and hotels spend money. Like the word's out. Like if in our city council or our mayor talks about the time. Like you used to 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you'd go to a conference or you'd go somewhere and be like, I'm from Paso Robles, and they don't know where it is.
In
and
between
now
San Francisco.
And now people are like, oh, Paso, the wine region. Yeah. I've been there. I have my cousin lives there. My friend has a winery there. So the word's out. It's just a matter of like, we got to keep getting the word out even more.
Yeah, and I think over time is the best way to do it, because if you grow too fast, you've seen what happens to those type of towns. Yeah. It just gets messed up real quick. I'm not going to use any as an example, but like it's just one of those things where like you can definitely tell they grew too fast to the point where like it wasn't sustainable.
Well, I don't think the locals here will let us grow too fast.
No.
And I'm a local too, so
that's one of the things I wanted to mention is like Paso has this really cool checks and balances thing going on.
It does.
Whether
that be city council or planning commission
or Norma Moy
or Norma, the two who runs the downtown Main Street Association, our school board. I mean, all across the board. There's just people who really wanted to have that small town authentic charm, and I think we retained that, because that's the cool thing when we do bring in buyers or media, they really do talk about the authentic nature. Oh yeah,
everyone who visits talks about everyone's just so nice. Like we were saying, if you go somewhere and someone isn't waving or saying hello, they must not be from here. It's real. Like new wineries who are coming and establishing themselves, they worry about oh, is my neighbor going to be upset that I'm popping up right next to them? And it turns out that their neighbor is there when their forklift isn't working or they, need a question answered. The region is so collaborative, and that is really something that's unique and special to Paso Robles.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that, the new winery, the new tasting room. People I want people to realize it starts local first, and then it grows into tourism. Like Nancy Uloa,
Exactly.
Yeah.
like everybody around here, especially since I'm Mexican, like they all talk to me about it. It's like, oh yeah, go there, go there, go there. And now I'm hearing other people from outside the city going like, oh, somebody told me about this because they had lunch at
Exactly.
at Odyssey, and they told them like, yeah, I got to try this place, So when people, I don't want to say complain, but have concerns about tourism, it's like, you guys do realize you're promoting it that way, because that's how
and it's a cool synergy because of new and old. I mean, that's the cool thing is you might go taste it at Nancy's place or Paco or Social, like all the new stuff, but then maybe you've never been out to like some cool place like Le Cuvier, right? Or Alta Clean. You're like, oh my God, I haven't been there. That's been for 20 years. Like, so it's what's old can be new too, right? Like there's people who haven't been up to Dow, right? And Dow, like beautiful, like the wine, the view, the food, like everything. But they're like, I haven't had a chance to get there. It's too crowded. And it's like, so you can enjoy the new and the old and still have a good time.
Of course. Yeah.
I think if they just try one place, if they haven't, it's going to be like, oh my goodness, this is, and this is why I lean into it, because when I moved back, I was one of those guys, like, I never went wine tasting. I mean, I moved away when I was 21, so obviously I wasn't drinking before 21.
Of course not.
I don't know. I didn't know what alcohol tasted like. So when I moved back, I made it a point, like, okay, I saw the foot traffic growing every time I would visit. So I told myself I need to get familiar with downtown as much as I can, within reason, with the pricing, and everything. And I just started with the tasting rooms, and one led to another, and now I have like an amazing like network of people, of friends, and and I'm just like, if they can just start somewhere, like that would change the world.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Yeah, well, I think the neat thing about Paso too is like you don't have to be necessarily in the wine industry to be in the wine industry. Like, you're like wine industry adjacent, right? Like you're not, you don't have a winery, but people who work, us, the people who work in the wine industry, people who have vineyards, and so. It all becomes part of the culture, which is, I think, what is cool about the organization that we run is that it's about that. It was initially called the Paso Robles Vineyards and Growers Association. And then in 2005, when Stacey Jacob was the executive director, they renamed it to the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance, which is such a beautiful name. It's the wine country. Yeah. It's an alliance of people and organizations. I mean, and companies who get together and coalesce around the wine region. Yeah. And what a cool thing. We've got, several different, levels of membership in terms of winery, vineyard, hospitality, associates. We've now got sponsors. We've got this really cool sponsorship, which I'll let, Carol talk about in terms of this company in Germany. We've got events. People are just like, I haven't missed a wine festival in 25 years. Like we've got these loyalty with consumers. Yeah. And then we've got these like Facebook groups of like, that are just incredible, like the wine fanatics, and like they're hardcore, man. Like they'll like fight you over Paso wine. They're so dedicated. So it's a really cool. Yeah. It's a whole community around and that's just what we try to do as an organization, is just build that community, make spaces for that to exist, and do it in the right way. Not saying we're better than other places, not saying we're going to grow faster. It's just that this is who we are, and let's hold that. Let's embrace that. Let's get better every day. Yeah.
With over 500, member businesses that are part of the Alliance, from wineries, hospitality, growers, and then associates, that's really any other type of business that's part of the wine industry or wants to support the work we're doing, knowing, if they're local, the economic impact report speaks for itself. Like their business is going to be more successful if the wine industry is successful. So yeah. And
talk about Strauss.
Yeah. So, we have an awesome partnership with Strauss. They're an international workwear company, and they reached out like over a year ago because they have a private resort in Germany, and we're looking to have some really cool wines featured there. And so they reached out to our communications director, Chris Toronto, the CEO did, Henning Strauss, and he said, I'm looking for some wines. And Chris was like, okay, well, here's some that are distributed there. And Henning said, yeah, that's great, but like, I want something that's not necessarily distributed. Some like really, interesting, cool wines. And so Chris looked into it and he's like, is this legit? Like, and it started this conversation. And at that time, Chris was planning Paso Wine School, Paso Wine S''cool, because Paso's cooler than you think. And that's our immersive buyer store. So we bring in buyers, sommeliers, and teach them all about Paso and show them the different vineyards and wineries here. And so he invited someone from Strauss to come. Her name's Nadia, and she just fell in love with Paso. I mean, of course, and the wines here. And on that trip, there was a mention of, what if Strauss was like the official workwear of Paso Wine Country? And that night, I guess Nadia texted Henning and thought that the idea was really cool, and we made it happen. And so, we're really excited to be partnering with them. So Strauss is the official workwear of Paso Wine Country and was the presenting sponsor of Paso Wine Fest this year. And Paso Wine Fest just continues to evolve and grow, and it's become such a really awesome festival and celebration of all the different wineries and wines produced here. And we've integrated more food, really cool activations. It's moved to the Paso Robles Event Center, so it's bigger than ever. And we saw like 3,000 people just at the festival this year. So
pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I grew up here. I saw the Paso Wine Festival happening downtown, and I was like, oh, that'd be cool to go one day. And then I moved away, and I came back, and then was moved over there, and I'm just like, I need to go over there next year for sure. Somebody actually had an extra ticket for me to go, and I'm just like, I was already doing something else, but I'm gonna make a plan for it. And I think having it at the event center kind of makes it even more official. It's like the weirdest sensation.
It is.
Like, I know downtown Paso, it was great, but it was restricted. It felt restricted, and I'm happy it was there, but at the same time, I'm happy that it's also at the event center.
Same thing. I mean, we grew up with it being in the park, and that was great. And I used to go to it when I was younger as well. But it adds like an era of like, they've grown up and they've got this. And the cool thing about the event center is it really becomes, it's kind of a chameleon. Everyone thinks, that's where the fair is, but like it can host like more than Hospice de Rome, which is this really cool, geeky, like high-end wine event. It can host Wine Fest. It can host rodeos. It can, antique shows. It really can take on that personality of who takes it over. And that's what we try and do. We bring in these really cool tents. We bring in some hedge walls. We bring in flooring. Like it doesn't look like you're walking into a
waiting
fair.
for a CinemaCon in there.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That'd be kind of cool. So what's the plan for, you don't have to tell me in detail, but what's the goals for the next 5 years for Paso Wine? Where do you want to see it? Not looking at like specifics, just your own personal opinion.
I think what right now we're building that plan out is really just that increasing that growth of the exposure of people knowing what Paso Robles is from an exposure standpoint. But more importantly, it's really changing perceptions of making sure people understand that it's really high quality wines at an approachable level. And that's the goal that we're trying to tell with our PR firm, with our messaging, with our social media, with our events, is like it's still fun and approachable, but the wines are incredible. Yeah. And so building that up, and then also as we get all these new things, just really rounding out how we tell that story is one thing we're working on, because we've got, like to your point, new hotels, new wineries. We've got Tin City, which is this, we didn't even talk about that, 25 plus brands down in Tin City. Downtown tasting rooms are blowing up. There's 25 of those. How do we continue to help tell those stories and not make it stale, but also make it exciting? Because I think there's some wine regions that are going through those growing pains of, I can't go there, it's too expensive, or I've been there, they only make this. So, we make a lot of different wines, different experiences, just talk about the diversity and make sure that we really, that's the main thing. The second thing is keep that community spirit we have, keep that authenticity we have. Those are my goals. I know Carol's got some. Some partnership goals too.
Yeah, well,
she's
of course.
Trampoline place.
Yeah, we're always trying to grow, our strategic partnerships, and so we're excited to see how those evolve going into next year. And we'll have to for sure have you come out to Wine Fest. It's the weekend right before Memorial Day weekend, so yeah.
We could maybe set up a podcast studio.
Yeah, I've thought about that, because I know you have someone there doing some sort of radio.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, yes, both. Because we have our own podcast called Where Wine Takes You. Adam Montiel is the host of that. And so, yeah, that's, top 10 wine podcast. It's in the top 1% of global podcasts. We've got 140 episodes
140
now. Yeah. It's almost weekly at this point, which is really awesome. We ramped it up this year. And that highlights all sorts of, personalities throughout the wine industry. So we love that podcast. And then we work really closely with the Crush 92.5 and their team. And so, yeah, they broadcast from WineFest.
We got a big tent. There's always room for more. Travel Paso is our kind of our sponsor of our podcast, but we, the more the merrier. So we'll figure something out to get you there next year.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about this off air for sure. Yeah. But, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I'd love to bring you back when you guys have time, or vice versa. I can go to you with my equipment.
That'd be cool. No,
this is really I know you guys have a nice spot and I want to highlight it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you'll have to come to the new office.
I love all the setup you have here, and we've got all kinds of ideas of ways we can work together. So thanks for having us. Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you.